Hey, Phil here from Hookturn, and I want to put a video together demonstrating some possibilities using our advanced forms plugin. Often on support, like I get like this sort of common thread of questioning, and it's usually to do with post creation and how you might go about doing certain things. So what we want to look at today is, well, first of all, I'm going to demonstrate how to set up a form for post creation. And then what we're going to do is take that a little bit further with some code, and we're going to look at ways to basically, well, more or less do anything you want with the newly created post. So, and we're going to look at a few different things like adding post meta, updating ACF fields, working with terms, that sort of stuff. If you've never heard of Advanced Forms before, it's a plugin for ACF. It's designed to extend advanced custom fields. All right, so my internet's gone a bit slow for all of a sudden, but okay, here we go. So it's a plugin designed to extend advanced custom fields, and it basically just creates a more like an advanced front-end form experience. Okay, and there's a lot of flexibility about it. Many things can be configured by the admin, but there's also a whole bunch of hooks and filters that make it possible to do pretty much anything you want with this plugin. But yeah, so let's take a look. Actually, before I move on, I should say, if you've never heard of it before and you want to try it, give the free version a go. Go to WordPress.org. So it's WordPress.org/plugin/advanced forms. Okay. Install this along with ACF, get familiar with it, get a sense of whether or not it's worthwhile to you. And if you want some of the more advanced features that we offer in Advanced Forms Pro, then come to hookturn.io and you can get yourself a copy. All right, enough of that. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do before we touch any code is we're going to go and create a form, create a field group, which renders on that form, and then we're going to configure that form to create posts, and then we're going to start creating posts. All right, what we're going to do is we're basically just going to create blog posts. Okay, so let's start by creating a new form. I'm just going to call it create a new post. Okay, and in a success message, I'll say post created. And now at this point, I'm not going to do anything else. I'm just going to publish this. All right, it doesn't appear on the front end. It just means it's a form ready to use somewhere. Before we can do the next step of turning it into a post editing experience, we need to add some fields. So I'm going to come down here to the fields meta box and I'm going to hit create field group. Now this is going to create an ACF field group. All right, I'm going to say call this create a new post as well. You don't have to give it the same name. You can call it anything you like. It's completely up to you. And I'm going to give it a few fields here. So I'm going to have a post title field. All right, I'm going to have a text area, which is the post content. Okay, and I think that'll do it actually. We'll just go with 2 fields. We don't need to overcomplicate it. But what we do need to do is make sure this renders on the form. Now we do that by coming down to the location settings, scrolling down to form under advanced forms, and we're going to hit the, let that load, and then we're going to select the create a new post form that we just created. Yeah, that's right. And then we hit save changes. All right, now field group has been updated. We're going to come back over to forms, and we're going to ignore all these. This is just my dev and testing forms that I use when I'm working on the plugin, but we're going to come to this, back to this create a new post form, and down the bottom, if you scroll down, you'll see that our fields are now connected, or our field group is now connected. We can connect multiple field groups, by the way, like you're not limited to just one. We're just going to stick with one. All right, keep it easy. What we're going to do though is we're going to come to editing, and this is an Advanced Forms Pro feature. So if you're using the free version, you won't have the editing tab. So if you're not seeing it, you got the free version installed. So just be mindful of that. I'm going to hit editing. I'm going to hit enable post editing, and I'm going to leave the post type as post, but like you'll be able to select any post type you like there. I'll let it publish. I will choose the post title for the field to map to the post title of our new post, and I'll do the same with our post content field. Just a note, you don't have to use any naming convention here. You can name the fields whatever you want. All right. I've just like, well, more or less accidentally given them the same names because I'm so used to using post title and post content. All right. And I'm just going to let this map all fields checkbox, I'm going to leave that checked. You can, if you had a lot of fields on this form and you only wanted a few specific fields from the form to be mapped to the new post that's being created, you could set that to no and then specifically toggle which field you want mapped. That's a possibility. I'm just going to leave it as yes. We don't have any extra fields anyway, so it's not relevant. But I'm going to hit update. All right, and now we have a form that is set up to create new posts. All right, and technically, like by enabling it for post editing, it's also set up to edit posts. But in order to do that, we have to sort of give it a post ID during rendering and stuff like that. And I'm just not going to cloud this video with that. We're going to stick to creating new ones. So what I'm going to do is I'll go to display, and you'll notice that on the display tab there is this advanced form shortcode. All right, so you can use this anywhere shortcodes are parsed, and it will render the form. Another alternative is to go with forms. You can also use the advanced form function, okay, like so. So you can call this in PHP, give it your form ID or key, and then an array of arguments, and there's a lot of args that you can choose from. But what I'm actually going to do in this one is I'm going to use the block editor, WordPress's block editor, and I'll create a new page. I'll create a new post. And we've got the block editor here. I'm going to type / and I'm going to find the advanced form block. And that's going to basically allow us to choose our form, right? So cool. All right, so we've got our create a new post form. It was already selected there. It's just the preview didn't load properly. And I'm going to leave these remaining settings as they are. Like there's some settings in here we can tweak and use. It's basically some of the same args that you can get, or some of the same args you get when using a shortcode or a function. They're just wrapped up here in the block settings. But I am going to look at the editing tab, and I'm going to see that we are creating a new post. So this is good. So we're basically now set up. So I'm going to hit publish on this page. And what we're going to do is we're going to view the page now. And we're going to see a form. It's a very stark, basic form. I don't have a bunch of CSS styling this website because, again, this is where I do development and testing. So I just keep it as bare bones as possible. But you can see that we've got our fields, and they're in the format, or they're in a form with a submit button. And if I were to go ahead and submit this now, post created, if I go over to posts, we should have a test post, and in test post we have our lorem ipsum. Cool. So basically, that's a straightforward post creation form, and again, you could use it to create any post you like. If you've got a custom post type, you can allow front-end submission of that post type from your users. Okay, and that's you can do whatever you like. So obviously that's pretty flexible off the bat, but sometimes people write in and ask, and they want to do very specific things. Like when we're looking at post editing, you've got the ability to create new posts and edit them and whatnot. But obviously there's a lot more that you could do with a post, and generally speaking, you're going to do this via code, right? Like if we were looking at those form settings again, actually I can do it right here. Open a new tab. If we're looking at those form settings again, we only have a few settings in here at the moment. You select the type, the status, the title, and the content. But what happens if you wanted to change the author? Okay, for example, that's probably a good example, actually, changing the author, right? So one way to do that is, the way to do that at the moment is to use some code. And just leave this, come back to the front end. So let's take a look at what we might use to do that. So Advanced Forms has it has a whole bunch of hooks available to us. So let me just get the post data. So we've got this filter called AF form editing post data, right? And so, or post data, depending on where you're from, I suppose. Okay, so essentially this filter allows you to modify the post data before a post is created or updated. And if we go and have a quick look, I'll open up my editor here. I don't want to take too long digging in, but I just want to give you an idea. So here is our hook, or our filter, I should say, and you can see that there's, if you're used to ACF, this will make sense to you, these variations, but there's the basic generic version of the filter, and then there are these versions that are specific to a form. So you can use either the form ID or the form key. And for these examples, I'll use the form key because it's just keeps our code snippets a little cleaner. But you can see that these allow you to modify the post data, right, that has come in from a form submission before WP insert post or WP update post is called. So if you're going to use this filter, it's going to affect both user post creation and post editing. Further down, if you'll see that we've got these other filters, also these action hooks. So we've got post created and post updated. All right, this is more specific. So if a new post was created, you can hook in here and do something specific with it. Or if a new post was, or if an existing post was updated, you can target that specifically using the post updated hook. Okay, let's start with manipulating post data. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, actually I'll use the documented example here. So I'm going to grab this snippet, okay, using my trackpad. So my mouse skills are pretty average right now, but I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to get our form key. Oh, here it is. From here. All right, I'm going to stick it in here. I'm just going to move this up here. And I'm also just going to do, like, I don't need to do this for the example, but I'm going to prefix this just so, like, just for good practice and just so people get into the habit. All right. Now we've got a post data array. So it's going to have things like post title. It's going to have things like post content. Oops, it's going to have post author and that sort of jazz. And if we go and, oops, if we just go and, I'm going to use die dump. Die dump's a custom function, so don't try and use it in your thing. But if anyone really wants it, give me a shout and I'll put it in a gist somewhere. But basically, it's just going to kill the execution of the page and dump out data. Okay, so we should see the post data when submitting this form now. So I'm going to go the title here and content here. Terrible spelling, but it's okay. And cool. All right, so now we're getting this information dumped out. And so you can see that the it's a very basic array that Advanced Forms has prepared before it goes and inserts or updates the post, and it's just got content, status, type, and title. Okay, and so you can see already you can override these, but also so you can modify these existing ones, but you can also add to them. And you know, WordPress post objects to have a lot of possible or possibilities with that data array. So if I go and look at WP insert post, you'll see that we've got in the defaults array, you'll see that there's a whole lot of things here, right? So status, pings, post parent, all right, that's another good one. Post content's a big one, and post author and stuff like that. So let's look at modifying the post author and the post title. Okay, so I might just go like this, bang, bang, bang. And what we're going to do is go post data. So I was going to do some multi-line stuff here in a second. There we go. All right, so let's change the post author. Actually, we'll go get an ID in a second. Now, let's just change the title to change the title. Okay, let's just try that for a second. We'll need to get rid of this line because we've already got it there. I didn't even pay attention to that. There you go. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to where our form was. All right, and we're going to submit this again. Remember, we're submitting it with, oh, well, let's just say a new post title. Okay, we'll submit that, and we'll come over to our post screen, and you'll see that the new post has come through with change the title, right? So you can kind of get creative here and do what you want. But maybe a more realistic example is like you actually do want to use the current post title, but maybe you want to make it uppercase. sorry, string to upper, str to upper. All right, so let's take a lowercase string and make it an uppercase, right? So let's reload this page so we get our form again. This is lowercase. Actually, this is lowercase because I don't speak in asdf. Submit, and on our posts page, reload. This is lowercase. No, it's not. It's uppercase. All right, that's our new post. All right, so that's a really kind of simple example. Let's have a really quick look at changing the author. Let me just grab one of my example users here. So we'll go for editor at example.com. I'm just going to get the ID from the URL. So that ID is user ID equals 10. Okay. Cool. All right. We'll reload this page. And editor's post. We'll call it editor's post. I'll get some content here. Before I do that, though, let me just go and assign that 10 to the post author. Okay. We can leave that there, actually. We can make it uppercase, that's fine. And we've got lowercase editor's post going in, and we're going to hit save, or submit, sorry. And now if we go over to our posts list, we've got editor's post, and the author is now editor. Right? It's actually tricky to see editor versus admin, but anyway, you can see that the author has changed. All right. So look, I mean, that's a really simple little example of using the post data filter to change the data on its way in. That's to change a post object as it's being created or updated, or just before it's been created or updated. But let's look at some other possibilities. So I did talk about these post created and post updated hooks. All right, so I'm going to go with post created. In fact, I've got it open over here. Post created. Okay. So let's grab this snippet here and let's go and do something with that post. All right, so I've copied the snippet. I'm going to paste it in here. I've gone and lost my form key again. Give me a second. Create new post. There it is. Okay, I'm going to pop that in there. And let's be well behaved and prefix our functions. Just be sensible. And now what you'll notice in here is we've got 3 arguments. So we've got a post, which is, as the comment mentions, a post object. We've got the form and we've got the args array. Okay, so what we're going to use is, well, what are some examples of what we might do here? I guess we could add post meta, right? So we could do something like add post meta and post. Oh yeah, cool. All right. So, and maybe we could say my custom meta, okay, and let's just hard code something. So some data goes here. Alrighty. Now what I'll need is database open so I can show you that that's actually worked. Post meta. Cool. All right, so let's go and look at our form again. All right, so this is the title. Whoops, terrible spelling. This is the title. I'll do some lorem ipsum in there again. And there's no other fields going in. It's just the title and the content. If I hit submit and I come over to posts, I'm going to say this is the title. All right, and I'm going to see that the ID is 1224. All right, now in our database, I'm going to look at all meta for that. Now remember, I set the my custom meta key, some data goes here. My custom meta, some data goes here. So there we go. So we're plugging in some custom meta. Another thing we could also do, you could use ACF to update a field. Some random field, I'm just going to call it that, some random value. Okay, and now I've got to give it an ID as well. Let me check. I've got the, select a value, post ID. Cool, post ID. I don't actually have this field created, so I have a feeling ACF's just going to create the meta. I'm a bit vague on that one. Let's go and try it. New post, jargon, hit submit. Okay, so we've got our post created, reload it. Ah, no, it doesn't. So I think maybe that was maybe that used to happen. So what we could do, so just for the purposes of making an example, some random field, I could go and create a field group, example, and we'll give it a text of some random field, okay? And I will assign that to post, beauty. Let's go back over to where our posts are. Let me just make sure that's there. Oh, wow, I've got a lot of things here. All right. Some random, obviously, there we go. Some random field. There it is, some random value. Oh, there you go. Oh, I was looking at the wrong post ID. Okay, my bad. All right, it does actually go and still create it. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 5. Some random field, some random value. So you don't actually need the ACF field in place, which makes complete sense because Advanced Forms doesn't always have it in place. All right, let me just kill this so I don't get confused by that later. All right, now what else might we do here? So that was just demonstrating that we could update a field, right? I guess the other thing we could do, like you could do anything because you've got a post object. Like this is it's a WP post object, so you can do anything that you can do with a post object or a post ID, which is pretty empowering, right? Like we're limited by WordPress's capabilities and our imaginations. But let's just say we're going to set object terms. All right, so let's go and have a look at some categories. I've got category 1, 2, and 3. Category 1 has an ID of 3. Category 2 has 4. Category 3 has 5. So 3, 4, and 5. All right, let's give it a category of 3, 4, and 5. Let's go 3, 4, 5. Taxonomy is category. We're going to do that too with the post ID. All right, let's hit save and let's go and submit a new post now and see what happens over here. Another post. I'm running out of titles here. Just some data in there. Hit submit. All right, so post was created. Go to all posts. Here's another post, and there we go. We've got categories assigned. Okay, so you can sort of get a sense here that like it's quite flexible with using just a couple of just using the post created action hook or the post data filter. You can do quite a bit. But let's say I'm going to do one more example here, which it comes up a lot, and that's when people ask like, how do I pass data into a form, like sort of like in the form of hidden fields? Like if you're a developer and you've built forms, you'll know that we like to use, or we often use hidden fields that don't appear on the form, but they get sent through with information in them that we can use during form submission. And Advanced Forms has support for hidden fields through the use of an action hook. Okay, so it's basically this hidden fields action hooks, AF form hidden fields. All we need to do, I'll copy this snippet. It's the easiest way to start, and I will just stick that in here, just towards the top, because that's what we're working. I'm going to put the key in, and I'm going to do that thing that I've been doing and prefixing my functions, just so, because I want to be a role model for this, whatever. All right, and let's say, what we want to do is basically add a hidden field to the form that helps us, or that captures the ID of the current page. Okay, so by ID of the current page, I mean the ID of this create a new post page, right? If with the ID of the create a new post page, we can then kind of go and do anything we like. We can use that ID to get the post title, we can get terms, taxonomies, whatever we like, all right? So let's do that. This example gets the title. I want to get the ID. I will be behaved. I will do the sensible thing and I'll escape the attribute, even though I know it's going to be integer, but let's escape it anyway, just to be super duper safe and super duper careful. And what I'm going to do here is this example has post title in it. I should probably change that example. Actually, I don't think it's very wise to demonstrate like a non-name spaced key. But what you would want to do is you'd want to either use like some kind of name spacing on your field name, or some kind of, sorry, like that would have been a prefix, sorry, so some kind of prefix or some kind of name spacing. And if you do it like this, like with these square brackets, if you're not familiar with what this means, it basically means that at the other side, you'll get this array that looks like, oops, you'll get this array on the request super global that in this case looks like that. Basically, it's the equivalent, okay? So when you're handling it in here, all of your custom data can be under your namespaced key, and it won't interfere with anybody or any other plugin or WordPress or ACF. It won't interfere with those other plugins. So I'm just going to go with Phil Kurth because I'm sticking with the theme of prefixes, and I'm going to give this source ID, or let's call it source post ID. Source post ID sounds good to me. All right, so I won't do any handling for that yet. I'm just going to go and save this, and we're going to go and render our form again. All right. And we're going to take a look, and there is an ACF-hidden div, and within this, down the bottom, we should see, there it is, Phil Kurth source post ID. All right. So, and if I was to grab that form, if you're familiar with jQuery, you'll know what I'm doing. But if I was to go in like, was it like serialize array? No. Serialize array. Oh, I don't think I want to go through and dig this out of 17 fields, but let's see. Okay, it's all right. JavaScript doesn't do it, but so it doesn't give it to me in an object notation, but that's fine. We're going to show you on the submission what you can do. All right, so we see we've got our data in there, our value, and it's got 1217. And if I hover over this edit page, or if I just go to the edit page, you'll see that the post ID for that post is 1217. So what this means is that hidden input is going to get submitted with the form, and that in any of our subsequent handlers, like in this case, we've got our post created handler, but anywhere you've got access to the args, anywhere in the form submission, you'll have access to, I should actually go like this. Anywhere during form submission, you'll have access to that data by accessing the post super global. If you're not familiar with what the post, super global is, I'd suggest you have a quick Google, go to WP3 Schools and have a quick squiz at this, and then probably look at some other articles because it's got like a paragraph. But anyway, it's basically all the data in the body of a request. Okay, it's going to be there. All right, so what we're going to do is in our post created handler, I'm going to get the source post ID. I'm going to extract it from, what do I call it? Source post ID. That's a good one. And I'm going to use null coalescence to prevent any notices firing in case that's not there for some reason. Okay, so we've got our source post ID, and let's just say, I better check. I'll say if no source post ID return, just in case for some reason there is nothing in there. But if it is there, let's go and add some post meta to our post. Cool, source post ID. That auto completion, by the way, that is GitHub Copilot. If you're not on it, get on it. It's well worth $10 a month. It is very, very handy. Anyway, we're going to assign this source post ID. I'm just going to call it. I'm just going to call it something unique so that you can see that you don't have to have the same name all the time. I'm going to assign that post ID to our newly created post via post meta. Okay, and let's go and reload this page just to make sure everything's there. A new post again. I seriously got to come up with a list of post names. And then let's just go, yeah, the post content doesn't even matter. So, and then I'm going to hit submit. And this is going to be our newly created post, a new post again. All right, so it's ID is 1229. I'm going to open up the database. I'm going to go and look at 1229, hit enter, and we're going to see the form source post ID is right there in post meta. And you might think, well, why, who cares? But you could use this for relational queries and stuff, like if you're using meta queries and that sort of jazz. I guess one other cool example, and this sort of relates to a question I had from a customer, is you could go and, oh, are you serious? Are you going to do that for me? We could say get object terms. I want to go source post ID. Yeah, category field IDs. That's awesome. All right, so you could go and get taxonomy terms from the page where the form was submitted, and if it's not an error, oh, that's beautiful, we could go and set those object terms on the new post, right? So you could even go and do stuff like that. Okay. I mean, look, the only other thing that I would probably mention in this video, it's getting pretty long, so I don't want to go much longer at all, is submission handlers, right? So I won't do examples. I'm just going to quickly touch on it just so you understand. These examples we've gone through, we had the, what do we have? We had the post data example, didn't we? So yeah, we did. So we had the post data example. All right, so we're using the AF form editing post data filter, okay? And then we've got the hidden fields to inject data into the form for submission. We've used post created to modify the post that's created immediately after it is created, okay? And then we've also got this additional hook, which is very handy. It's used in a lot of, well, it's used in a lot of the internal modules, but a lot of people use this to do anything custom they want, is they write their own custom submission handler. And the submission handler happens further on down the line. So it happens after post editing, creation, all the rest of it. So you could write your own submission handler that does whatever you want. And you can see by this example, in the submission handler, it's saying AF get field. That's actually getting a field or the value for that field from within the form submission. So, that's not making a server request or anything. That's just getting the data from the submission. And then you've got the submitted data right there at your fingertips, and you could do anything you want. You could send it to an API. You could create 42 different posts if you wanted to. Don't create 42 different posts. That'd be a bit hectic. But, you could do all sorts of things. And so the power of ACF, of advanced forms, I don't know. It's in a lot of ways, it's in the hands of the right person, in the hands of somebody who knows how to write a bit of code. It's very capable, and you can do a lot of things. All right, so just a quick recap. This has been advanced forms, and specifically a deep dive into injecting data into submissions and handling that data. Just a reminder, you can go and try the free version, and you can totally just use the free version. There's no need to buy the pro if that does everything you need. But if you want to go for some advanced features, you can drop on into hookturn.io and you can get yourself a license for the pro version. There's a little bit, some details in here about what it does. You got things like, multi-step forms and like post and user editing and creation and stuff like that. So, but I'm not going to harp on about it. It's there. If you want to use it, go for it. Cool. All right. Thanks for watching. If you've got any questions, email me. If you want that die dump function, just comment or something. I'm sure I'll get a notification and I'll put it in a gist. Yeah, that's it. Ciao.